Welcome back to another juicy episode of the Healing Chamber podcast. This is Layla Rose, and today we have a very important subject. It's a very serious one, and it's one that actually was part of one of my course, and I've decided to give that knowledge for free because it is associated with the root chakra, which is the center where most people, I would say the masses, are really struggling right now, especially right now because it's 2024 and it's the year number 8 in numerology. So it's associated with Saturn, with Kali. So a lot of people are getting their karma and they're very confused about what's going on. So yeah, I'm just going to share a lot of knowledge. All right. So get ready with some pens and papers and take some notes because it's going to be juicy, very, very juicy. All right. So how to get out of poverty and suffering for good. And by the way, I'm laughing because I'm in a good mood today, but trust me, I went through personal hell with money. I've had so many power imbalances and struggles in my life when it comes to money. To make this very quick story, so I'm not going to bother with my own personal stories today, but I just want to share where I'm coming from, so at least this is legit. So I was born in a family that doesn't have a lot of money. A few people here and there have been successful, but they've been gatekeeping not only their money but their knowledge as well. So I grew up with a single mother, and she suffered throughout she still is in some way, but yeah, throughout my childhood, she was working super hard to provide for my sibling and she was miserable. And not only that, but she never educated us on anything that is financial, obviously, because she only gave what she knew about money, which is, the slave consciousness. She still is. She's a slave to the fear matrix, so she doesn't know how to be the master in her life. And unfortunately, all her limiting beliefs were given to my sibling and I. So what happened is that within the first, I would say the majority of my life, I struggled financially. I couldn't get by with just the basic things in life, like food and shelter. And it was a constant struggle. It was a constant roller coaster, right? Because sometimes I would be with a partner, then I would be fine because they would take care of the place where we would live. But then they would become I would say abusive or controlling, and then I would have to break free at some point because it would just get too much. So I would just repeat the cycle that I experienced as a child throughout, I would say, my 20s. And it was a roller coaster. It wasn't always like that, but it was it wasn't stable. And even when I had money at some point, I was like, okay, I'm good. I would then lose it, or something would come up and then I would have to give it all away, or something would happen. So the foundation was very shaky in my life. And I bought so many courses. These courses where they're like, this is the secret to not get rich in a shallow way, but to get rich to just live, survive. And I would spend, these courses would be so cheap, $30, $50. I even paid $100 one time. And it would get me so angry because I would spend this money, which usually was meant to be my grocery money. And then I wouldn't eat for a while because I bought the courses. And then I would get so mad because I would follow the protocol. I would follow what the teacher was saying. And my life would actually get worse. And I didn't know why. And it drove me insane to the point where I was like, when I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to teach as many people as I can, throughout my entire existence. That's how angry I was. I was so mad. And now I do have the answer, because what happens is that all these teachers, and I'm sure that they didn't mean, wrong, or they didn't have any bad intentions. But what happens is that people that are not very aware of what they're teaching, they're actually teaching the Jupiter codes or Venusian codes, or even the Kundalini codes. And all of these, right? Jupiter, Venus, and Kundalini, all this energy is located in the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra is the second chakra, right? Just so you have the root, the sacral is up there. What happens is that it amplifies. It amplifies what is already there. So if you're going through, I don't know, like you're homeless, or, you're depending on someone, you're codependent, or you just lost your job, like anything that is happening in your life, if you buy a course that teaches you how to use the Jupiter energy, the Venusian energy, or the Kundalini, it is going to amplify your struggle. It is going to amplify your poverty. That's why this is the answer. So a lot of times, actually, let me just get to the straight up answer, right? So I've made like this huge intro. So the answer to all of this, the solution to all of this, is to start with the root chakra, which is what the society is based upon, which most people who work for the government have no idea that they're working for Saturn and that they're working for the root chakra. They have no freaking idea. They don't even teach that when, you're becoming a lawyer, for example. But this is the energy that they're serving. They're serving the Saturnian energy, which is the energy that some people get confused with Satan. So Satan and Saturn, it sounds very similar, but this is where people get confused. Obviously, all of these teachings are tools. Tools can be used in a negative and positive way, just like anything, even money, right? Like love, relationships, like anything can be good and bad. This is the duality of being on earth, right? So when we start to work with the Saturnian teachings, there are many different ways to work with it. First of all, we have to understand that Saturn is the planet of discipline, karma, and it rules anything that is related to architecture, structure, the law, the government. It's an energy that is also connected to the color navy or black. This is why we see a lot of these colors when we go to institutions, to any government, places, structures. So navy and, the police, for example. So navy blue and black, right? So the first way to start to work with Saturn is, first of all, to set up an altar. And you don't have to do anything fancy, which is the cool thing with Saturn. Saturn is very straight to the point. There's no emotion. I would say it's very cold, but in a tough love type of way. It's not like Saturn wants you to succeed. Saturn wants you to be responsible and to get you whatever you want. It's not working against you. Sometimes it feels like the law is against us or the government is against us when we're not aligned with the energy of the root chakra and Saturn, which is connected, by the way. It's the same energy. So, for example, the first thing is to have an altar. Once again, very simple, as long as no one touches it and it's a sacred space. It doesn't have to be this huge space. It can be a little space in your closet, as long as you set the intention that this is Saturn's altar, basically. So you want to make sure you work with Saturday. So on Saturday, for example, each Saturday for a month, you want to clean this space, of this sacred space. It can be a little shelter, for example, and you want to clean it, and you want to set the intention that this space is for Saturn. You want to place black coffee, if you have it. You don't need black coffee, but if you have it, anything that is black. So, for example, if you have black crystals, you don't have to go and buy them if you don't have the money, obviously, if you're working at the base. But if you have them, place them on there. So black coffee, black crystals, anything that is black or red. So if you have black or red candles, you can use your imagination. If you have like nothing, you can even go into nature and like find a red flower, for example. Like you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be fancy at all. So I need work with the colors. Like that's the start, right? And on a piece of paper, you can write a gratitude list, because all of these are offerings. What you want to do is you want to write a gratitude list to Saturn, and you obviously you want to write it in the present tense. So you're not saying I desire, I want, because you're just going to ask of more of that energy. So you want to say, for example, I'm thankful for my stable home. Like even if you don't have one yet, or you're like living in somebody's basement, whatever, you want to write this gratitude list in the present tense. So I'm thankful for my stable home, I'm thankful for my car, I'm thankful for like anything that's like grounded and rooted, right? I'm thankful for all the money I have in my bank account. I'm thankful for all of my clients on my online business, like anything that you desire. I'm grateful for my stable relationship, blah, blah, blah. All right. Another way to work with this Saturnian energy is to work with Lilith, because Lilith is also connected to the root chakra. And I know like so many people, and I used to have that fear as well, of working with dark goddesses and the darkness and dark energy, because I thought it was bad. And a lot of times, a lot of people think, Lilith is a demon. Why should I work with a demon? So Lilith is actually a goddess. And I really recommend, by the way, really researching about Lilith and Inanna and understand why they've been telling people that they're demons. Obviously, the patriarchy doesn't like when women are empowered and self-sufficient and independent in a feminine way. They hate it. They hate it because you're aligned with the energy of Mother Earth, which is the most powerful energy on Earth. So you can start small. Obviously, you don't have to go like all in at first, but Lilith is actually the goddess that has dominion on demons. Like demons bow to her. So if, for example, you're a woman who is working at night as a scripper, a spicy accountant, a companion, anything that's related to the SEX industry in some way, shape, or form, because it's a very large industry, working with the energy of Lilith is very protective. Very, very protective. You can use her sigil. I know on Amazon there's a lot of like jewelry. You can wear the necklaces or a ring, for example, with the Lilith energy, and you just have to charge it with your own energy, and you're going to feel the power. It's very powerful. And I used to attract, for example, a lot of predators, like men with like predator type of behaviors, and I swear to Goddess, like when I wear this sigil, they literally bow to me. Like people do not mess with me. It's an energy that's very strong and very powerful. It's the most powerful energy on Earth, I'm telling you. So you can also, like on the altar for Saturn, for example, you can also put the Lilith sigil, and you're gonna notice the Lilith sigil has the Saturn sigil within her sigil. I don't know if that was clear, but you're gonna see like visually. So basically, Lilith is the energy that rules Saturn, and a lot of people don't want this information to be out there because it's very powerful, extremely powerful. You can work with Lilith as well by wearing her colors, which is the same colors as Saturn, so black and red. Red specifically, but you can combine the two, right? So when you dress as for example, dark feminine, it's that type of vibe, like burgundy lips, smoky eyes, like that's her. That's like the Lilith energy. For the offerings, you can place your menstrual blood very powerful. Red roses, anything that is red. And, once again, if you're like working with the root chakra because you don't have any stability in your life or funds or money, you just want to work like with very basic things. Like again, like she's not asking you to like buy some expensive like red crystals to work with her. Obviously, as you're working with her, you can buy some carnelian and some ruby at some point, but you want to start small, obviously. Another way to work with this type of energy with the root, once again, is to work with the color red when it comes to food. So, for example, instead of just going for like blueberries, for example, when you're doing your groceries, take some red fruits. Strawberries, I mean, there's a bunch of them, raspberries, anything that is red, beets. This, again, is going to help you work with the Saturnian Lilith energy and with the root. So to get really grounded into the reality. Because the thing is, when people want to ascend, usually they start to work with the third eye or with the crown and they start to meditate. But if your root is not grounded, you're going to have a very interesting life. There's going to be a lot of hurdles, a lot of obstacles, and it's just going to be like constant dark night of the soul and shadows. Like it's just going to, and of course if you start to do kundalini breath work, that's it, like you're just amplifying that shit. And then of course a lot of people kind of get tired of that and then they just turn to like religion or like Jesus because they don't know how to deal with that. But it could be easily mastered within like 28 days, which is a full moon cycle, to get back into some sort of peace. Another way to work with this type of energy, once again, there's no fun and pleasure when you work with the root. It's like, think of this energy of like, like a father, not a strict father that's like abusive, but like a father that really wants you to succeed. Like he's going to help you become disciplined, but it's not going to be fun. Like the day-to-day exercises or routines are not going to be exciting. It's like going to the gym, for example. Like if you're someone who loves to train, like you don't get happy and excited like every time you get up and you go train. It's like it's a habit, it's kind of like it's a rhythm. This is the same type of energy. It's a rhythm of like, it's like you're aligning yourself with the energy of Gaia. Like think about like drums, it's like a beat. All right. So when you work again with this type of energy, you want to do a full moon cycle. So like 28 days, and you have to be consistent, which is the main purpose of that. Like you have to be consistent. For men and women, it's different because men have a 24-hour hormonal cycle. So it's easier for them, for example, to like work out like every single day, and to have like a 9 to 5, and have this like rhythm of like doing the same thing every day and showing up. This is why a lot of men succeed easily within our society, and sometimes women have to turn into men to be successful. But obviously it's different. It's a very different type of energy. For women, for example, if they start to work with the Lilith energy within that Saturnian root center, of course it's not for everybody, but I'm just giving ideas. The Lilith energy is going to push you sometimes to do some type of work at night, when the moon is there, but it's usually hidden or secret or is considered taboo, and of course I'm not telling people like do that, but I'm just saying like sometimes having a sugar daddy, being a scripper, or being in the sex industry in some way, because there are different ways to do it. Some women are masseuse, some women, like obviously it depends on your country's rule because they're all different, right? So you have to look at your country rules and see what is legal, obviously. And you want to work with that type of energy. And that's why, a lot of women who have these OF accounts, they're very successful financially because they're working with the Lilith energy without even knowing it. But of course that would be for another episode because there's a lot of different ways to do OF that are sacred, and sometimes it is not. So we have to like be mindful about how we do it, because there's also a wounded patriarchal way of doing OF, which is where a lot of women are stuck right now. But there's a way to do it that is more sacred. All right. What else? So, okay. Last thing, which is so important, once again, when you're working with this type of energy and you're doing a 28-day like cycle, you're doing that for 28 days, you want to work as well with your nervous system. So you want to stay grounded. And this is one of the things that you have to be consistent with is, for example, somatic exercises. You want to make sure that you're doing at least one somatic exercise for 28 days. And this is how you're going to create this new habit of feeling grounded and at peace within yourself, and feeling secure and feeling abundant within yourself. Because as within, so without. You know, a lot of people are waiting for the money to like fall onto their head so they can become secure and powerful and safe to feel that. But it's actually the opposite. You have to feel the emotions prior to receiving the money. And I know it's not easy sometimes. That's why we have to ground ourselves. We can work with the root chakra frequency. So on YouTube, it's free. You can listen to it. You can listen to it like every single night. Usually you want to stay away from listening to affirmations, because if you're not grounded, if your root is not stabilized, there's no structure for these affirmations to stand upon. So you're going to have like results here and there, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I can manifest, some shit. But then it's going to crumble and you're going to have to start all over again. So you might as well just do like a 28-day cycle with the root chakra to make sure that it's fully grounded and your nervous system is very regulated. So then once you start to work with the second chakra, which is the sacral one, then you can work with, if you're a man, you can work with Jupiter. If you're a woman, you can work with Venus, and you're going to see very quick expansion and results after you work with the root chakra. All right. Again, you want to stay away from any fast breathing exercise. So breath work is amazing to ground your nervous system, but you want to make sure that when you're looking on YouTube for breath work, that it's not these like fast breath, when it's like 2 seconds or like 3 seconds. This is like Kundalini. This is expansion. You don't want to do that if you're working with the root, because you're going to amplify your problems. So you want to do slow breath. So it has to be at least 8 seconds. And of course, if you just want to just fill without counting like numbers, you can just fill up your lungs and, breathe in and breathe out very slowly. This is how you're going to regulate yourself. So yeah, and of course I'm going to end as well with alchemy. So alchemy is something that actually happens during that process, during that 28-day cycle with the root chakra. Alchemy is so important because you cannot build a strong foundation and structure if there are people in your life or things that are not aligned with your highest self and your abundance and your highest possible timeline. You know what I'm saying? So if you're doing all of this, but you're still hanging out with people, like I would recommend as much as possible, obviously, to be in solitude. Of course, if you're going to work, you can just work. You can wear the Lilith sigil or the Saturn sigil if you're a man under your clothes, so you're feeling that energy and protection. But you want to make sure that while you're doing that cycle, please do not go out, do not drink. It's not a time for pleasure and fun. After you get to do that with the Venusian energy and Jupiter, but not with the root. You're just gonna, if you do that, you're gonna have to start all over again. I'm just saying, like if you skip a day, that's it. You're back to day one. It's a very strict and disciplined energy, but I'm telling you, 2024 is the year to do that, because we have the Saturnian energy, and this energy, like once you're aligned with it, like you can get anything you want. Anything. The relationship you want, fame, wealth, like any desire that's on your heart. Like you're not going to be denied any desire that's on your heart. All right. So while you're doing this process, of course, alchemy is happening. You're decluttering and cleaning. Even physically, if you can get rid or give or whatever things that have this like old frequency, this is going to help you a lot. Like clean your space, declutter, like remove things that are associated with your past self as much as possible. Obviously, with clothing, for example, it's easier. You know, get rid of the old clothing that's like connected to the old you, especially if you're a woman and you used to like go out like clubbing and wear some like ratchet type of dresses. Like, I know they're cute, but like get rid of them. Like, first of all, you're not gonna attract, you know, a like not just a man, like in general, like you're going to attract people that are like low vibrational if you're dressed to attract broke men. Like, you don't want to work with that frequency anymore, right? So that's just an example, of course, but you can declutter anything. And of course, if you have nothing to declutter, you can just clean, you know, keep your space very minimal and very clean so the energy can flow very easily within your space. All right, so that's it for today's episode. Let me know if you have any questions. And of course, you know, this topic is like one of my favorite one because it took me like 15 years to like get out of that cycle. And I almost like, you know, I almost passed away a few times. And it was very hard. And I wished I would have like stumbled on a podcast episode like this one. It would have changed my life. You know, I would have probably skipped a lot of suffering, a lot of poverty consciousness, you know, issues. But it's fine now because I can, you know, yeah, I've been through hell, so now I can, so now you don't have to. This is what I mean. All right. So let me know if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, and I'll see you tomorrow for our next episode.